Good evening, Lincoln County community members. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have another session of our Lincoln County Wildfire Readiness presentations. Tonight, we will be featuring the Seal Rock Fire District, which is in the south part of Lincoln County, right along the coastline. This is the seventh part of our series where we specifically focus on the fire district, their briefing, and seasonal fire restrictions and precautions. So for tonight, as I mentioned, we are going to be featuring Seal Rock Fire District. However, Chief Demaris is not able to join us this evening. He had an engagement that he was not able to schedule around. So no worries. I've got lots of notes and information about the Seal Rock Fire District, and we will be able to fill in for Chief Demaris. Also, our Oregon Department of Forestry folks would be joining us as well. However, one of them have been deployed out to one of the fires here in Oregon, and the other one did have a scheduling conflict. But again, no worries, your county emergency manager. Oh, I guess I should introduce myself, Jenny Demaris, the county emergency manager. I'm very familiar with all of our agencies and should have no problem filling in. But as we go through the presentation, if you do have questions, and drop them in the chat box, and if they're specifically for Chief Demaris and his district or Oregon Department of Forestry, I will make sure that they get answered. Okay, so let me move on to my slides here. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is one of the presentations that we have. Previously, prior to COVID, we actually had 1 2-hour wildfire readiness presentation that we had, and we did that in front of you in person. I really enjoy doing the in-person presentations. However, with continuing COVID conditions, that really hasn't been practical for this summer season. So instead, we took that 2-hour presentation and we split it up into 6 individual modules, which really allowed us to be able to provide more information specifically for a topic. And then you had the ability to sort of pick and choose what you were most interested in or areas where you may want to refresh yourself on. So for tonight, you may be watching this as an attendee to our Zoom meeting, and thank you if you are. Please feel free to use the chat box and drop questions in there, and I'll try and monitor those so that I can answer them as we go. You may be watching this on the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office live YouTube channel. If you have questions, you'll need to email those to me, and then I'll check for those after the presentation and answer them. You may actually be watching this as a recorded video after tonight's presentation. I should have this uploaded in about an hour after our presentation tonight. You also have the ability to look at the slides or the PowerPoint slides that I'm displaying tonight. And this entire presentation is intended to be a self-learning module. What that means is when you see graphics in the presentation relating to specific information, when you click on it, it will take you to that link where then you can find more information to help you with your planning efforts. So let's go ahead and get started. So first, we're going to watch a public service announcement from your Lincoln County Fire Defense Board, Chief Robert Murphy from Newport Fire, Chief Rob Dahlman from North Lincoln Fire, and the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, your Sheriff Curtis Landers. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that over, and I'm going to mute myself and take myself off of video. So just
wildfire can and does happen here, and we all need to prepare for it. And that's probably the biggest thing to the public is be aware. Be aware, be prepared, know what happens around you, know what happens in the community. Listen to local radio, local media, sign up for Lincoln Alerts so that you have the most time, the best chance of getting early notification if we need to evacuate. I think something the general public, unless they've been through this, never really fully appreciates is how fast it spreads and how it can go from nothing to a firefighter or a sheriff's deputy knocking on your door saying, "Get out now." Sometimes, while we have a great system and we have the ready, set, go, sometimes it goes straight to go. I mean, that's just the reality because of how fast these fires spread. And so The time to start thinking about what do I do in a wildfire isn't when somebody's knocking on your door. That's probably the biggest lesson, I think. The time to start thinking about it, to start planning with your family, to know what you're going to do is really now. And that's why we're doing these messages, because we want people to think about this now, because in August, in September, you should already know what you're going to do.
Yeah, Lincoln Alerts should be very much a priority in what they're preparing for their plans. It's a direct communication. We heard a lot of things. Communication wasn't good or wasn't acceptable during this last event, and we know that Lincoln Alerts is one of the things that continued to work and was providing information, timely information, to all the residents in the area. And one of the things that residents can do is make sure that their Lincoln Alerts is up to date, that they have their phone numbers in properly, that their cell phones are in there. If you want to know about a neighbor or family member around, you can put their address in, and there's lots of tools and things you can do to be alerted in the event of not just a wildfire, but any event, any emergency event that goes on. It's an excellent tool, and that's one of the first priorities citizens should do is have that all up to date.
So your personal preparedness is have a plan of what to do if you have to evacuate. And that's going to be applied not just to fire season, but also if we have other natural disasters that come on. Pay attention to what's going on, know when those alerts come out, be part of and subscribe to the Lincoln Alert system, and make sure that you have, if you were to walk into your house and say, I've got 5 minutes to grab my most essential items, what would I take? What would be important? If you're at a level 1 or a level 2 evacuation for a wildland fire, have those things already gathered up and in your car. Have your birth certificates, your important documents, your computers, anything that you say, I can't live without this. Have that stuff at the door ready to go or in your car ready to go.
I'm just really proud to be part of this community and part of the response that goes into it between the county, between the cities, the different fire districts. It goes all hand in hand, and it's a very collaborative approach to these disasters. And it's also because of, we're prepared well. Jenny Demaris, our county emergency manager, prepares us every year, prepares the community as we're doing here with information, but it's working together. That's the only way that we'll succeed, and we do very well at it.
Visit Lincoln County's website to view the 2021 Wildfire Readiness presentation schedule. These are live events that you can attend via Zoom and ask questions, or you can watch them live streamed on YouTube. There are 6 subject matter areas and 1 event per each fire district. So if you can't make it in person, rest assured we will archive these online for you to review. When you get to the website, just use the search tool or look for the text that says Wildfire Readiness Presentations. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you to our public information officers for putting together our 2021 public service announcement. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about who our sponsors are for these presentations: seasonal outlook and weather and drought conditions for the summer season, local fire district and department briefing featuring Skid Rock Fire District. And in that session, we'll talk about burning restrictions, understanding wildfire weather warnings, what to do if, how to reach us or them, and when it's appropriate to call 911. We're also going to just touch lightly on wildfire be ready tips, and then Oregon Department of Forestry regulated use restrictions. We have several additional resources to help you in your planning efforts, and then time to answer any questions that you may have. So our administrative brief and sponsors. Well, first of all, who are our advocates? We know that most emergencies start with a call directly to our 911 dispatch centers. Then they activate our first responders, law enforcement, fire, and EMS. Sometimes for those situations, we have individuals that are transported to our local area hospitals at Samaritan North Lincoln and Samaritan Pacific Communities Hospital. Pardon me. And then our wildfire then our utilities and public works agencies help us put everything back together the way it was before the event occurred. Our public health partners help us with environmental health, behavioral health, and communicable disease responses. Your elected officials are very important as they ensure that resources are made available to all of the public responders and that those resources are available from both state and federal resources. Your Emergency Operations Center, both city, county, and tribal, then work with all of these partners, again, to ensure that the resources are available and to coordinate public information. So our community sponsors are your Lincoln County Fire Defense Board, which is made up of each of your fire districts here in Lincoln County, and Oregon Department of Forestry. Also our Lincoln County Public Health Department, the American Red Cross, Oregon State University Extension Service, Oregon Coast Community College, and the Oregon Department of Financial Regulation, the Consumer and Business Services. And of course, your Lincoln County Sheriff's Office. So what is our objective tonight for these presentations? Why are we spending so much time trying to present this outreach material to our communities? Well, if you've attended one of our Cascadia presentations, you'll notice that this objective is very similar. Regardless of what the hazard is, our goal is to strengthen your knowledge of that risk. Tonight, we're talking about wildfire and your role in preparedness, response, and recovery. But alongside with that, we also want you to know what our role as public safety and local government is to you, the community. Now we're going to take a little look at seasonal outlook for both weather and drought conditions. Just a few months ago, as I was preparing these presentations, I came across this great forecast that was from the Oregon Department of Forestry. So I highly recommend you bookmark this page, and then you could look about every 3 months when they update their climate forecast. I've just taken this snapshot just a couple days ago, and they had just issued out their July through September forecast. It's a video that when you click on this graphic here, it will take you to their page where you can actually watch prior forecasts as well. Also, our friends at the National Weather Service in the Portland office prepare a summer outlook for Lincoln County each year. They provide this outlook to our public safety partners and local government when we do our tabletop exercise for a wildfire scenario in May of each year. So when you click on this graphic, it'll take you about 15 to 20 slides that you'll go through. They do a good job at looking at what last year's weather was and then forecasting of this season and leading into October. As we get into our fall season, the National Weather Service will provide another outlook for us based on winter weather conditions. So drought conditions. This has been in the news media quite a bit very recently. And this is the U.S. Drought Monitor drought conditions page. When you click on this graphic, it will take you to the drought conditions page, which provides real-time or live data. So this is just a snapshot of what I took on Thursday, June 10th. However, when we had prior presentations earlier in the month, I had captured an image from May. So just from May to June, Lincoln County has moved into a higher degree of drought. So now we're into a moderate drought condition. And if our friends from Oregon Department of Forestry were here with us tonight, they would tell you that yes, this season is extremely dry for this, where we're at this year in this season. Your Lincoln County commissioners are already working with your agricultural partners and your water districts for those drought conditions, what it will mean to their services or businesses that they provide, and whether or not Lincoln County will be filing for a drought emergency declaration. What this does then is provides additional resources or access to resources for those partners. And I feel that over the next few weeks, we'll be hearing more and more from those water service providers and other industrial type partners here in Lincoln County. So a local fire district briefing. So tonight I'm going to provide a brief presentation on behalf of Chief Zakaris, your Seal Rock Fire District Chief. So a few things that I know about the Seal Rock Fire District. They were initiated in 1962. They are considered a combination department, which means they are made up of both some paid individuals, paid staff, paid firefighters, and then also depend greatly on volunteers. They have a district board with 5 elected members, and they actually have a coverage area of 16.5 miles. So within that coverage area, they have residential, commercial, and forestry area that they protect. As far as their apparatus or the equipment that they have both structural and wildfire type resources. You might be more familiar with the terms of engines or water tenders. They also have mutual aid agreements with all of the agencies on either side of them and then the next district out. So that would be like Newport, Toledo, Yachats, Waldport, and also Pacific West Ambulance for medical transfers. They have 2 stations. The primary station is in Seal Rock, and they have another station at Bayshore. And then when we get a little bit further, I'll talk about their burn permit process. So, burn ban and restrictions. What does that mean? Why do we do these? So a burning ban is a restriction issued for a specific part of the state under extremely dry conditions. As you can imagine, summers here in Oregon are becoming more and more dry, and we're seeing that those burning ban or restrictions are coming earlier and earlier each year. So for example, for Lincoln County, we normally do a backyard or debris burning ban somewhere right around the July 4th time period. But this year, the conditions are so much different than prior years that your Fire Defense Board agreed mutually, all districts together, to conclude or close backyard debris burning June 1st. Now, as we move farther and farther into the summer, we may actually see that those burn ban conditions may narrow down even more to the point that the only burning that would be allowed would be from a propane or a natural gas type barbecue. That happens generally much, much later in the summer, and it happens annually, but this year it may happen sooner. So about burn ban and restrictions, they may be modified by weather conditions, like our case as the drought moves into the extreme, will change during the fire season. ODF, Oregon Department of Forestry, has a lot of influence on that. And then complete burn bans may be required during extreme weather conditions. So for local burning restrictions, if you're not sure, any time of the year, you're going to want to check with your local fire district or department for restrictions. And if you click right here, you'll see this will take you right to a location where their phone number and contact information is. Lincoln County, as I said, generally moves into a countywide full burn ban around the first week of July, but it could be issued earlier, which it actually was as of June 1st. How are you notified of these local burning restrictions? So your local fire district will put that information out through their social media, on their website, as they're answering phones. Media alerts are issued based on the Fire Defense Board. They do one media release for all fire districts. We use our Lincoln Alerts program, the email, or in some circumstances, we may send you a text message to let you know. And of course, social media. And we also make sure that we put that on the county website as well. So what is fire weather? Fire weather typically occurs during spring, summer, and fall. It may be driven by periods of low moisture and may be driven by high winds. So driven by unseasonable high temperatures, yes, that's a definite. And as you can see here from the National Weather Service, they are issuing high temperature warnings for many areas of Oregon. We're here on the coast, and so we really appreciate that coastal marine air that comes in for us. But Lincoln County is sort of split right down the middle. We have that coastal area, but just as you move about 5 to 6 miles inland, then the rest of Lincoln County is really more associated to the valley conditions. Also, extreme fire conditions occur during red flag warnings, which require extra caution and early calls to 911. And then we're going to talk about red flag warnings next. So I have this slide and the next slide, and they have a little bit different information. A red flag warning is issued to alert fire officials and firefighters of potentially dangerous fire weather conditions within the next 12 to 24 hours. Versus a fire weather watch, sort of the same, but within weather conditions within the next 24 to 36 hours. Now you can read below when it really talks about the relative humidity, what those conditions are that help define when that red flag is issued by NOAA National Weather Service. And I would like to mention that Lincoln County in April had a red flag warning, and that was the earliest red flag warning I believe that Lincoln County has had in over 20 years. So a little bit more perspective from you as the community member, understanding watches and warnings. So what does it mean if you know Lincoln County is under a red flag warning? So you want to take action, be extremely careful with open flames, be monitoring the weather information, especially if you are an individual, your business, or you spend a lot of time doing outdoor activities. Also a fire weather watch. Be prepared. A watch alerts land managers and the public that upcoming weather conditions could result in extensive wildland fire occurrence or extreme fire behavior. And just like our winter weather warnings, when we start with a watch, we move to a warning, these work the same way for wildfire or weather conditions. So a new term for you may be extreme fire behavior. And as other fire chiefs have previously mentioned in these presentations, this is really more for fire officials, forestry, industry partners that really manage that. So this alert implies a wildfire is likely to rage out of control if it's initiated. It is often hard to predict these fires because they behave erratically, sometimes dangerously. One or more of the following criteria must be met. They're moving fast, high rate of speed, prolific crowning and or spotting, and presence of fire whirls. And I believe Chief Daniels the other day mentioned fire tornadoes, and then a strong convection column. So we put this slide in here intentionally because many of the chiefs have mentioned about the speed of wildfires. I did a little bit of research. I found on the NOAA website, they had this great graphic that really provided a little bit of more understanding about that speed of wildfires. So in Chief Murphy, he talked in the initial public safety service announcement about how fast fires can move. And really, when you're thinking about fire, the topography, the fuel type, and the weather conditions are those three components that really determine that speed of the fire. And there's sort of like a term about the fires don't run downhill, they run uphill. Depending on your fuel load, Chief Daniels the other day mentioned that yes, they actually can go back down the hill, but that speed of which that they move uphill, that topography really does play into that. So again, I know some of these slides are a little bit hard to see, but when you bring up the slides and you click on this, it'll bring it up full screen, and then you can really read that to find information. Okay, so what to do? What if you're outside and you cause a fire? The first thing fire chiefs have indicated they want you to do is have someone call 911. Make sure you know your address, your landmarks. You may not actually be at your own property, and what road mile markers are. And especially for those addresses, I'll just put a shout out to that. Make sure that your property address label is clear and easy to read from both sides, from both directions. So then if it's still safe to do so, attempt to extinguish that fire using water, shovel, dirt, sand, whatever you can use to try to mitigate it or prevent it from spreading. And if it is becoming a life safety issue, you're going to want to evacuate the immediate area and notify your neighbors if there's time and it's safe to do so. So what to do if you see smoke? So we decided to put this slide in here because really we're hoping folks will understand the difference of a fire that has already been reported, large scale, like the picture that I have here. This is Depot Bay, the 2500 road fire of August of 2016, versus if you see an unattended, unobserved fire with heavy smoke nearby, you're going to want to call the non-emergency dispatch number, or if you feel like it is an immediate threat to life or safety, that you would call 911. So again, what we're looking at is large columns of smoke here from a distance. It's most likely already been reported, so we don't want to inundate our 911 operators. We want to keep those lines available for individuals that have real emergencies, or doing resource management with the officials that are en route to that fire. So also I have folks that ask about prescribed burns. Why do they do prescribed burns? Where's the permits? How does this work? If you click right here on this link, it will actually take you to the Oregon Department of Forestry page, where they have all of the prescribed burns in the Oregon Department of Forestry area. And so those are permitted. It is live data, live map that you can click on that and look at those at any time. So Lincoln County fire districts, how many districts do we have and where are they? So starting at the north end of the county, we have North Lincoln Fire District, actually North Lincoln Fire Protection District #1, and the green area. And then Depot Bay Rural Fire Protection Area is a very thin area right along Highway 101. I think he said, Chief Daniels, it's about a mile wide. Then as you move to the central part of Lincoln County, we have Newport Fire Department, which is the city department, and they actually have a sister district. So they have Newport Rural Fire Protection District. They're managed by the same chief. So when you see them, it kind of looks like one fire district, but technically they have two separate. So they're in the dark purple here in the center. Down here, Seal Rock Fire District, that is the district that we are featuring tonight in that blue color. As I said, they have 16.5 miles and they have residential, commercial, and forested timber area that they protect. Next on the list is right along Highway 34, which is Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue. That is the Waldport area, and they go all the way out to, I think, just almost out to the county line on Highway 34. And at the very bottom, we have in that dark blue color, the Yachats Rural Fire Protection District. And again, as you can see, they just travel right along the coastline. They actually dip right down into Lane County over here. And again, they would have the same makeup as Central Coast and Seal Rock. So back to the center of the county in this light green area, we have Toledo Fire Department, and then the East Lincoln County Fire and Rescue, which again is with one chief at the Toledo Fire Department. And then lastly, we have the Siletz Valley Rural Fire Protection District in sort of this darker tan color. And they do encompass several acreage of the Siletz Tribal Community Forest area. And our Siletz tribe actually does have their own forestry management program. So you might wonder, what about all the other light tan color that's on this map? Whose protection district is that? Well, that actually falls into, it's referenced as the unprotected area, but it is managed by Oregon Department of Forestry or by U.S. Forest Service. So Oregon Department of Forestry is not a structure protection areas. Even though myself, I live way out on Highway 20, I'm in an unprotected area. And you might wonder if you live in one of these areas why your homeowner's insurance is so expensive. That's the reason why. We are in an unprotected area and we are too far away from a staffed fire station. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that these corresponding fire districts don't come to assist. If there was a fire out of one of these districts, to try to help that property owner and then augment Oregon Department of Forestry. A lot of times they may be the actually first on scene responders, and then Oregon Department of Forestry would come in, they work together, establish an incident command. But again, if you're in the unprotected area, you technically do not have a protection district to protect your property. So there you go. Okay, well, I hope you're still with me. I'm not really sure what happened. That's the first time that's ever happened. And I think I've done I've had 16 of these presentations. I somehow clicked the wrong button and my Zoom just disappeared. So I believe you're still with me. We're still going live. We're still recording, and I'll just get right back to it. So this is our cheat sheet, if you will, of all of our public safety agencies, dispatch and ambulance service providers that we have here. Bookmark page. You could print it off, hang it on your refrigerator, or what I actually do is bookmark it right in my mobile device as a bookmark in my web page, so I can bring it up and I have that number. Now, what I would also recommend is whatever district you're actually in, do make a contact card in your mobile phone for your law enforcement agent in your contact list. Okay, so when to call 911? We have many community members that ask us, you know, I'm nervous, I'm not sure when I should call 911. I mean, I understand if it's really life safety, but what if it's one of those sort of other gray areas? So our 3 dispatch centers and myself got together and we outlined different examples. I know it's kind of hard to read on here, but if you, again, go to the slides and bring it up, you'll see it very clearly. We outlined different types of examples of when it is appropriate to call emergency 911 dispatch, when it's appropriate to do non-emergency, and then really you look at another agency or just calling their business number. So again, a great resource to help you navigate that. So Wildfire Be Ready tips. We actually did an entire presentation on emergency notifications and evacuations. So you can click on that presentation from our website. It's about 45 minutes long, and it will really lead you through all of this information in a greater detail. However, just as a refresher, make sure that you have signed up for our Lincoln County Lincoln Alerts and that your profile information is in there. So each person in your household who has their own mobile phone should have their own profile. That way they can all be alerted individually. You might have kids at home after school, significant other is away shopping in the valley. We just want to make sure that each person in your household gets that emergency alert information individually. So when you're thinking about Ready, Set, Go, that is the state of Oregon's adopted evacuation language, if you will, Ready, Set, Go, level 1, level 2, level 3. It's really important that you sort of have a good understanding of what is the difference between the 3, and also most importantly, understand that wildfires don't always start at a level 1 and then move to a level 2 and then give you a few more hours notice and move to a level 3. Just as the video said, Chief Murphy and Chief Dahlman, that fire can initiate and you might be the closest homes or structures near the fire, and you went from a no knowledge to an immediate level 3 go now. So when we talk about having your go kit, it's not just for Cascadia, it's not just for flooding. This is really when that go kit of that important information is grab and go somewhere near your front door. It's already in the car and you're out the door. Now, level 1 means be ready. So that's the time when you're going to start getting ready, think it through, get the car turned around. Where are you going to go? Do you have friends or family you can go with? And then just be ready. Level 2 means you need to be ready to leave at a moment's notice. If you're a household who has children or grandmas and grandpas that live with you, or folks that may have access and functional needs or mobility challenges, you're really going to want to be thinking about evacuating at the level 1 or level 2. You probably don't want to wait until you get the level 3 notice, because it's going to take you more time to get ready. There could be more congestion in traffic, and you'll just want to leave earlier. So we have this wildland fire action guide that can assist you in your planning efforts. Click on here. It's a digital document about 5 to 6 pages long. You could just print off the pages that you find are useful, but it really does lead you through a more narrative of preparing your household, preparing yourself, animals, and what you need to do to be ready, get set, and then go. And as our slide points out here, early evacuation is key for those with pets, animals, access and functional needs households. And I might add, if you're wanting to take the motorhome, RV, travel trailer, toy hauler, ATVs with you, do not wait until the level 3, because then you have much more traffic and much more congestion. Comply with local warnings about evacuations. Don't wait until the last minute to evacuate, and don't underestimate how fast fire progresses. So now we're going to talk just a little bit about Oregon Department of Forestry and their public regulated use. Of course, I'm not a subject matter expert on this, but I think I can fill in for both Charlie and Matt pretty good. So first of all, I want to point to their website. Again, another useful website if you want to keep yourself apprised about all these terms and information. So they have check public fire restrictions, which is for us, everyday persons. And then they also have the check industrial fire restrictions. So that would be for our private timber, commercial timber, industrial utility providers, people that are actually out working in those unprotected areas. So public fire restrictions, if you go to this page, this is what it's going to look like when you bring up Lincoln County. Of course, I brought this up several months ago, so we were still in the low fire danger, but this will actually change depending on where this area is at for that today's fire danger. Oregon Department of Forestry revised this public use restrictions documents, I think about 2 or 3 years ago. This, again, if you especially are in that unprotected area, is a good document to print off and have with you. What it really does is it provides for you a definition of when we are in low danger level, moderate, high, or extreme, and you go down the list of actual activities. So for example, I'm going to go down to mowing of dried, cured grass is restricted. So during the green, low level, you can mow all day long. But in the blue area, it's only allowed between the hours of 9 p.m. and so 9 p.m. at night until 1 p.m. the next day. And then allowed between 9 p.m. and 10 a.m. for the high level, and then not allowed at all when we move into that extreme. So don't quote me on that. Bring it up in full size so you can read all the materials. What this is referencing is so that you have an understanding. If you're going out cutting your own firewood, you may find that during these summer conditions and these restrictions, it's not allowed. You can't go into the unprotected area and have these activities. If you have any questions, Oregon Department of Forestry, our Toledo Forestry office says, please call them, ask. They would love to answer your questions, make sure that you have the right information, and you can also contact your local fire district. This is just an example of the industrial fire restrictions page. Same thing, they have this broken out and you'll be able to find that information there. Whew. Okay, so now we're just going to talk about some additional resources. As we do for our Cascadia presentations and other, we just really want to encourage you to try to build those survival skills, get your toolbox filled up with things that are useful for you, build those skill sets. Everyone should take a first aid and CPR class so that they have that skill set. You never know when, needing to be able to do CPR for someone. American Red Cross, think about volunteering with them. They really serve 2 purposes or values for here in Lincoln County. For the Echo Mountain Fire, they were the responding agency that provided that sheltering operations for our evacuees, but also what they do on a more frequent basis. Anytime that a community member has a structure fire, that responding fire chief or fire district then makes contact with American Red Cross, and they bring in and make resources available for that family that is being evacuated and may not be able to go back to their home due to damage from the fire. They put them up in temporary housing and provide them with some basic essential things that they need. Because if you know of a loved one or community member, or perhaps you yourself have experienced it with the loss of a home, everything is gone. And that American Red Cross, those volunteers and that agency really step up to help you in those first few hours and days so that family can kind of get moving again. A new volunteer group for us is the Medical Reserve Corps. This is a group intended to be made up of medical personnel, either retirees or still active individuals. They work together, and for our Echo Mountain Fire, an example, they provided the care for the medical fragile shelter that was co-located with American Red Cross. Our public health family are the ones that are responsible for coordinating the medical fragile shelter, and those medical volunteers, Medical Reserve Corps volunteers, really provide the staffing for that. The CERT chapters of Lincoln County, or Community Emergency Response Teams, we have 4 chapters in Lincoln County: North Lincoln Fire, Depot Bay Fire, Newport Fire, and then all of South County is under one CERT chapter. So Seal Rock, Waldport, and Yachats are all under Chief Mason at Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue, which is Waldport area. And then Map Your Neighborhood. This is really a great program if you've been thinking about getting more involved with your neighborhood. how you can increase preparedness outreach efforts. The Map Your Neighborhood program is a great way to meet your neighbors, identify who has what skills, resources, abilities, and also find out which of your neighbors are vulnerable. You may find that several of your neighbors may be homebound. They may have disability issues, and they may not have someone that lives with them on a full time to help them. And that may be where you, as a good neighbor, step in and are able to help them in those times of evacuation. So some additional resources, Lincoln Alerts, if you've not already signed up, or you need to update your profile. Our seasonal wildfire readiness information, which is how you found this presentation tonight. And I'll be putting this recording on, in a few more hours. It'll be there by tomorrow morning, I promise. And then we have a new page, Active Wildfires for Lincoln County. We had this page last year, but we all agree it was sort of buried. It was too hard to find. But now if you go to your county emergency management page, it's right up at the top. And if we have an active wildfire, then our public information officers will link that directly to the main county website, so you won't have to go looking for it. You can click on it now and look at it, and it actually shows you all of the information that we're going to track and make available to really help with coordination of that public information. Current conditions is another one that's really good to bookmark in your mobile phone, your tablet, your desktop. It provides a link to all of the live information that is made available to us based on what those hazards are. So example, air quality and monitoring, flood conditions, river levels, USGS for earthquake monitoring, tsunamis with NOAA, any active wildfires in Oregon is there, regular weather conditions, ODOT with trip check, all of those are listed there. When you go to that page, the top portion is listed in those items that are most regularly referenced, meaning that's the one that people want to look at. And then down below is the exact same listing, but in alphabetical order. And then, of course, just reviewing the videos that we have already completed as part of our wildfire readiness presentations. We have financial and business preparedness, animal preparedness that Laura Ireland, our Director of Animal Services, provided for us, property protection by understanding wildfire risk. And that module 3 really talks about defensible space, what you can do to protect your house, to make it more wildfire ready or resistant. Emergency notifications and evacuations, that was myself talking about Lincoln Alerts and the other systems that we have. And then our patrol division, and we featured or focused on, what to expect when someone is knocking on your door, a public safety official, and letting you know that it's a level 3, we need to evacuate now. We did a session with Mike Johnson from the American Red Cross on sheltering with the American Red Cross, and then what to expect if you need to go to a medically fragile person's shelter. And then we finished up with air quality considerations, everything you need to know about wildfire smoke and our air quality here, and how you could try to limit the effects to yourself. There's some things that you can do, how you access more information, and then what preparedness efforts do you need to do or can you do for those in your home that have access and functional needs. And then lastly, for additional resources, of course, the state of Oregon, lots of resources available there, and state of California, they've been doing this a little bit longer than we have, and they've got a really good website with all kinds of resources and information. Most of it does apply pretty easily to us here in Oregon. At the federal and national level, we have ready.gov, National Fire Protection Agency, FireWise Community, Wildfire Community Preparedness Day, the Ready, Set, Go program, and of course, the American Red Cross. Whew, boy, that was a lot. So I'm just going to pause here real quickly and see if we have anybody that has any questions. And we'll just wait. So normally I would be thanking my guests for being here with me this evening. And again, as I said, Chief Sakaris had a personal event, was able to make it tonight. And of course, Oregon Department of Forestry being deployed to other fires. But you can watch any of the other videos that we've done that are Fire District Central. And I would encourage you to do so. Some of the commentary that we get from Oregon Department of Forestry, Charlie and Matt and the fire chiefs, it's some pretty useful information. Oh, which reminds me, back on the public regulated use, Charlie always brings up sort of the liability piece to the homeowner. So I'll just talk about that while we're waiting to see if there's any questions. So example, if you are an individual that is having an activity, doing an activity that's in that scope of the public restricted things, and you're outside of that time frame, meaning we're in the red zone and you're not supposed to be doing any of these items, and you choose to do that, you as a property owner or a renter are liable for any damage that may be caused. So the example that Charlie provides for us is there was two individual homeowners separate from each other, but they were mowing after outside of that public use restriction in the red area. And they were mowing very dry, cured grass. Both of their lawnmowers, different times, initiated fires that got away from them. It couldn't be contained. The fire spread. They eventually merged in together to become the Stouts fire. And after a couple years of litigation, the state of Oregon finally resolved that. And the property owners, the two of them together, were liable for over $30 million in damage and expense to fight that fire. So again, I don't know about you, but my homeowner's insurance policy wouldn't cover something like that. So really do heed the warning when they have those public use restrictions in place, because if damage is caused, especially if it was negligent, then you will be liable. You're liable for that. So, okay, I'm not seeing any questions tonight. So again, these are available online. You can email me or any of your fire district representatives, any questions that you may have. And that's it. We're going to conclude for the night. So thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate you being here and hope you found this useful information.